very important to read the first and second page of this sheet, not just the sheet that's out, the site that you visited, because there's important information here at the beginning. Let's see. It's not a formal report, so do not turn in a formal report to me. I want to be as creative as you can be. Not all of us are creative, I'm not, so what I would be all that great, but it would be my best shot. Scrapbook, it does not have to be a scrapbook that you go out and buy. If you want you make, it could be a loose leaf binder that you add the pages to, your own pages. It could be you made one. I showed some examples of that students have made where they just use cardboard and construction paper and that type of thing. We tied it together so that they can add sites to it. That's important, that you're going to be adding sites to this. You're going to turn in site visit 1. I'm going to grade it and give it back to you. And you're going to see how you did, making changes you need to for your next one. So you get everything done the way it needs to be done. So only turn in 1 this first time. There's usually 400 word minimum for each site, so we're not talking a big, lengthy thing. And you may not be just, you may be just having a picture and writing a little bit about that, another picture writing about that, just to get to be able to answer all the questions. Usually you're writing something about mechanical weathering. You're going to be talking about that, depending on what site you're at. For most of the sites, you're collecting a sample. There are certain sites you do not collect a sample. And I said so in here, not to collect samples. I mean, you don't collect samples at city parks. Like if you go to West Terrace, you don't collect samples. If you go to the art gallery, you don't collect a sample there. If you go to Baroque Woods, you don't collect a sample there. That's city property. So those type of places. Oh, there's a Vietnam Memorial. Don't collect any samples there. There's a city park and Swope Park. If you're looking at the memorial, don't collect any samples there. But all the other ones, you do need to have samples. Your samples, you are going to put a number, the way geologists normally do, but put numbers. And each sample has a unique number. If you look in this classroom, there are, all the display samples have a number on them. There's white paint there, and then in black ink, there's a number, and they are all a different number for every sample. And there should be an index that tells us what they all are. I have never found an index. So that's what you're going to be doing. Or, we've had on the samples that we use in the case, or in our rock sets, it's just a piece of paper that was glued on there. Elmer's glue. It sticks well. Just, don't move it around and let it stick for a while. And you can write on that, or you can, for those of you who went on the site visit, I gave you some numbers at the bottom that you can cut out and use. Always include a picture of yourself at the site. There is a grading sheet. Make sure you include this in your scrapbook. That's one point. And in the scrapbook, you're going to have a list of
27.
All the different rocks you've collected. For site number 1, you'll have sample 1 and 2 maybe. For site number 2, you'll have samples 3 and 4. You're going to just continue on here. So when you put it in your book, put it in a place where you can add to it. And you're putting in there the sample number, the rock or mineral name, the location collected, and the date collected. more than
My
5.
bad.
Because people usually don't get full credit off the extra credit ones. So you tend to get a little sloppier. When you get sloppier, you don't get the points. And those are due on May 6th for the extra credit. No, no. The extra credit, if you go to the exhibits or the lectures, they're not part of that 50 points. So you can get 20 points, and another 50 points of extra credit. That sounds pretty much like a test. No, points for a test. Okay, I went over class rules a bit last time, but we were missing a quarter of the class last class period. So I thought I'd go over these again. Just finish spring break, refresh your memory of what the class rules are. Just by some things on the test, it looked like some people hadn't been listening really closely. So I need all headsets off of the ears, all earbuds out of the ears. Long-haired people, I can't see them, but if they're there, they need to leave. Because I want you all paying attention in class. Take notes if you need to take notes. Most people have to take notes. A few people are capable of learning as they're listening and retaining everything. Most of us cannot do that. That would be a wonderful skill. But just remember, this is the first day of the rest of the class. We've got a good start. We can just, whatever your grade is right now, don't worry about it. Unless you happen to have a class that might not happen, but everybody will pass the class. And scores are a whole variety of scores, but everybody will pass as long as you keep it up. I mean, I don't pass people who are not passing, but because homework is really critical this class. The tests only amount to about 500 points out of 1,200 points in the class. So homework counts more than what the test counts. So all the homework, I'm talking about the site visits, the things you're doing online, anything like that we do. The quizzes are in there too, so that's part of it too. That's not homework, but that's in those points. And remember your lowest test grade, I will drop. Not the final. The final is a comprehensive final, which is 200 points. That one doesn't get dropped. Everybody has to take that test. Even if you got an A, you can't drop below an A, you still have to come and take that test. It's the school rules. Everybody takes that test. In this class, that's comprehensive. And you all will be ready for it. I'll give you a good study guide for that, better than what I do for all the other tests. But I'm confident that if you study for that test and pay attention as the rest of the semester, you all will do well. Just when you come here, make sure you're coming ready to learn. I am going to be locking the door at 12:30 now on, so make sure you're here on time. Kimberly, do you still have a class up north? Or do you still have that class up north, or are you done with that class?
Wait, what did you?
Oh, I thought there was someone who had a class at Maplewood.
No.
No, it wasn't you. Get to class on time. Everybody get to class on time. I can't remember who that was. Anyway, the doors will be locked. No headsets, no earbuds, cell phones. They need to be put away on silent, not on vibrate, them on silent. Don't have them on your lap, please. They need to be put away, put them in a cabinet, in your backpack, where you cannot see them. This is your time away from all those things going on out in the outside world. This is your break time. You want to deal with that. Unless, I know there are some people that are responsible for elderly parents or for kids, so school might call that you have to be aware of it. Most of us are not in that situation. If it can wait until break or in class. Drinks are only, there's no food in here, and only clear water. It's the only thing that is allowed in the classroom. No food. They did clean the room over spring break. I noticed the tables got cleaned. That was a plus. homework done before this time to be in class. I do have the homework up, the ones online set to go off at 12:30. You need to be in class at 12:30, so it should already be done. The quiz I passed back that we just did on Tuesday, several of you all pointed out that there was a problem with question number 8. The correct answer was not in your word bank there. So, if you wrote schist, you got it right. That was the closest to the correct answer. This is what happens when someone writes a test and doesn't do the key before they give it to the students. And I had not done the key, so I had not caught it yet. So, thank you all, Aaron, thank you for catching that for me, and someone else caught that for me also. But Phil Light was the right answer. If you wrote schist, I went in, included, I counted it right, close. You know, they're pretty good on that. Listening, paying attention, you do what things were in the book, so that's good. Okay, I need you to have a sheet of paper, a real sheet of paper, a full sheet of paper, wherever your reflections quiz, you may take the whole sheet of paper. This is a combination of questions, long questions, that includes information from chapter 2, minerals. It includes information from chapter 3, igneous rocks. It includes information from chapter, whatever it is, chapter 5 for revenue, chapter 6 for sedimentary rocks, and 7 for metamorphic rocks. So it includes pieces of all that to kind of pull all this information together. So everybody's got a piece of paper out, and you might want to, as I did it this way, so I had space to go across. Okay. What minerals, yes, question.
Are we turning this in?
We will be on chapter 22.
Are we turning this quiz in?
Oh, no, we're
Or
not
is
turning
this
quiz
just
in.
for us?
This is for you. I want to see, you all need to know all this information. Hopefully you do. We'll pull it out of you today. It's in there. It's very good. So granite, y'all know what granite is? We've got, it's an igneous rock. It is formed increasably. It's felsic and has several minerals in it. What minerals would you find in a granite? List those out. And you might do it like, use some space, we're going to be adding some things. This 4 minerals that you will find in a granite. And I have the Goins reaction series up there, so it might help you out. I said it's felsic, so what minerals would be in a felsic rock? Hopefully you all came up with quartz. Feldspar. It could be a glacier place or a potassium feldspar. You might have a hornblende. And you might have a mica. It could be a biotite mica or a muscovite mica. This is step one. Now, we had chemical weathering occur. We are in a moist environment with chemical weathering occurring. What would each of these minerals turn into? Write that down. Go off to the side. What will these turn into? You all came up with what happens to quartz.
What you mean?
Usually it just doesn't just get smaller pieces. So it could just be quartz. Or it's a possibility it will go into solution. Sometimes it does do that when you have ions in solution. So dissolves out. Feldspar. So what else? What does feldspar turn into? Clay minerals. I'm going to say clay minerals, not just clay, because clay can be clay size or clay minerals. Hornblende turns into what? Somebody else. You all know.
Is it silicate? Silicate?
Let's say the other. My hearing is all over.
Still clay.
It'll be another clay. Clay minerals. And the muscovite and biotite will turn into clay minerals also. Now that's chemical weathering. What if we have mechanical weathering? What will they turn into? With mechanical weathering or physical weathering, what happens? What does the granite turn into if we go through mechanical weathering or physical weathering? What happens? We might get some pebbles. We might get some sand-sized grains. We might get some silt-sized grains. We might get some clay-sized grains. Depending on how much mechanical weathering, how much abrasion's going on, breaking that rock down smaller and smaller. So we have all these sediments, we have these minerals, and these clay-sized particles, or these particle sizes. They're sediments, these are all sediments that have been created from weathering. Now we're going to deposit those. Layer and layer of these. What type of sedimentary rocks will form from each one of these? So look at the quartz. What sedimentary rock would you get from quartz? Quartz pebbles, pieces of quartz, or ions in solution, quartz ions, which are the SiO2s. What we deposited clay minerals, what type of rock would we get? think of a couple. If we have pebbles, what type of rock would we get? Think of a couple. Sand size, silt size, and clay size. What type of rocks would we get? And I came up with 9. 9.
So this is a separate question?
Just take this further. What is this gonna, what sedimentary rocks? Rocks will form. So, what quartz turn into clay, well, we have 2 clays there. What do pebbles turn into? Sand-sized particles, silt-sized particles, and clay-sized particles. What 9 sedimentary rocks would you form? We're still writing. That's good. This is the question that was on the test that I took off. Question number 5 that wasn't there. This is what the question was. Quartz turns into what type of sedimentary rock? Quartz sandstone. If it's in ions, what do you think we might get? Is it in solution and it's crystallized in a solution? SiO2, fine grain. Chert? If we have clay minerals and they get deposited, what do these become? Shale, or mudstone, I'm hearing. Okay, if pebbles got deposited into rock, what type of rocks do we get? If they're rounded, what we would, no, if they were angular, what would we call them? They'd be a breccia. And if they're rounded, we're gonna call them what?
Conglomerate?
Conglomerate. And if they were sand size and get deposited, what are 3 possibilities? What? Or sandstone. When they have sand-sized particles, they're gonna be deposited. It's not, it's just, we're talking sedimentary rocks. Or sandstone, an Arcos sandstone. What was the other one? A gray wacky. You all remember those? Arcos has feldspar in it.
Oolitic too, right?
Um,
Can you say oolitic on that too? Oolitic sandstone? Can you say that? No?
The oolitic is a word that goes with limestones.
Okay.
Arcos sandstone, the other one was a quartz sandstone that I just didn't write it again. But Arcos sandstone formed in arid environments, so actually the situation we wouldn't really get the Arcos. The Narco sandstone has 55, or has at least 25% feldspar in it. And gray wacky deposited in the ocean, deep ocean, the mid current. So it takes several different sizes, at least 50% really fine sized particles. And silt-sized particles, what do they get turned into?
Siltstone.
Siltstone. And then we have clay-sized particles, they turn into mudstone and shale. So I already had that, so how many did I get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's what I said I had? Yeah. You did it. Okay. Now, a lot of time is gonna pass. A lot of heat, a lot of pressure. We're gonna have metamorphosis occur. We're gonna have metamorphic rocks forming. What are each one of those sedimentary rocks from turn into? Make sure you answer that question. And that came 7 primary ones, what I came up with. You all know all these, but I think all of you are done identifying the metamorphic rocks. Are you coming up with 7? Not seeing you guys shaking your head, yes. Oh, we got 1. Okay, back here, a quartz sandstone. It's going to be exposed to a lot of heat from contact metamorphism. What is it going to turn into? A quartzite. Everybody get that? The same thing will happen to a chert. It'll just be a really fine grain quartzite. A shale will turn into what? Slate. But so we'll use the same thing. Now, if we have further metamorphism of the slate, what's the slate going to metamorphose into? What was the next stage of metamorphism? We look at the chart over here.
Is it,
And then notice up here, we have the arrow here showing increasing metamorphism from slate going on down to gneiss. So increasing grades, we talked about low grade, intermediate grade, high grade metamorphism last time. So the slate is going to turn into a philolite. I usually don't spell that correctly. And then we get a schist. You can just say a regular schist. We might get a chloride schist. We might get a blue schist if we have enough ferromagnesium minerals here, but probably not. So it'd probably just be a biotite or a muscovite schist. And then that will turn into, what's the highest grade metamorphism of this flow? Nice, everybody agrees? turn into what? We'll call it a metaconglomerate, but is it a metaconglomerate? I don't know if there is such a term. We'll call it a metaconglomerate. And the conglomerate will do the same thing. Barco sandstone is going to turn into a quartzite. A gray whack is going to turn into a quartzite. The siltstone is going to turn into a quartzite also. Because it's all going to be quartz. We can have, if we have contact metamorphism, we can have some hornstones formed. That can be formed from contact metamorphism with just about any rock. They've got it in here. When they have their, they say any type, but it'd be one of the diagrams I showed you. It'd be more in this series where you have the hornfeld form and one other. Hornfeld is coming from, well, they're saying that the metaconglomerate could, if it's really high heat right at the contact, could be hornfelds there, and your knives could be the hornfelds also. Your high-grade metamorphism with the sandstone, that's just going to be or not high-grade, high heat will be a quartzite, this will be marble, this is a limestone. You notice we don't have limestone here. Limestone has the chemical formula CaCO3, and there's a possibility we have some calcium in the feldspar, but probably not in the potassium feldspar. We might have some calcium, but probably not. We don't have carbon in anything. We do have oxygen. We don't have the elements to get a marble in this process, a limestone or a marble, so none of that. And didn't start with organics, so there are coals there also. So no anthracite coal or bituminous coal. How do you feel about that? You think you'll be able to repeat that? Oh, wrong answer. Yes, yes. You're gonna think about this. I really like this question. Switch gears, we're going to talk about geological resources. It's chapter 22 that I think all of you have read the book. We started the homework. I did notice that it looked like everybody had at least started it. Hopefully everybody finished it before it got cut off. Let's see. This is one of those chapters that I really, really like. You hear that about other chapters because I like geology, but this is a special one. This is about resources. This is about things that are really, really important to us every day. Without the resources that we're going to be talking about, life as we know it would not be like what we like. We'd be having a lot of habits and forces if we didn't know how to get all these out and use them. Actually, that doesn't sound too bad. Log cabin, of course, for living. No cell phones, no computers. Sounds pretty good. At least for a day or two. Okay, so what we're going to learn about. We're going to learn about the geological resources, what they are, what we're going to talk about. We're going to be talking about how they form and how they are mined. The report of geology is that we locate these resources and we mine them, and then we process them, to get the materials that we need to make everything that we like having. So we're going to be talking about energy resources, non-metallic resources, and non-metallic and metallic resources. Your fossil fuels, your energy, fossil fuels, which are going to be some of your energy resources, would be petroleum and coal, your crude oil or your natural gas and coal. Other energy resources are going to be uranium, hydrothermal, and geothermal, mineral ores, things like galena, satellite, things like that. And limestones. I mean, we mine limestone here, it's important commodity we haven't been able to see that we mine. Limestones used to make concrete. We also have other non-metallic like apatite, which is mined somewhere in the country for fertilizers. Just lots of different non-metallic resources that we mine. But we have to find them first before we can mine them. And you all get here, a lot of resources were used. You either came in a car, or a bus, or a bike, or somehow, some sort of transportation, maybe you walked, but you got here somehow. A lot of resources were used to get you here. So if you came in a car, what resources were necessary to make that car? Hey, I'm not hearing really well today, so you're going to have to. An engine. Well, what metals do we have in the engine?
Aluminum.
Aluminum. So we need to have aluminum. I never spelled this right. Sorry, guys. AL. And it comes from the mineral oxide. What else is underneath that here?
Iron.
Iron. Okay, we make steel to make part of this car. I mine iron. That's the key. And we might need to have,
Copper. You need copper.
for steel. Okay, let's go through the things. We have to have some, it depends on what type of steel we have. There could be some chromium in there. Because there's lots of different types of steel used for different purposes, so they have different minerals in there. Or different elements, I'm sorry, different minerals and elements. So it could that, to make the steel that goes into the car, could need each one of these different elements that will come from every one will come from a different mineral. I heard copper. And we can mine calcium pyrite for that. Calcium pyrite. Iron we can have. Magnetite, magnetite, carbon, we're going to be probably having some coal, possibly for that, chromium and nickel, I'm not sure where we're getting those from. What else we might have? I don't have an electric car, I have a normal car. Petroleum. What's in my battery?
Lithium. Car batteries have lithium.
The old lead acid batteries? Oh,
You still have lithium.
oh, okay. What else do they have in them? What's the main thing I think of is lead, which comes from galena. Sulfur, the battery acid has sulfur. Zinc. today.
Like,
So-
zinc, in order to like prevent the car parts from like rusting, like getting old.
Ah. Yeah, the zinc is used as a protector. I never thought of that for a car. Maybe. That would be sphalerite. Glass copper. There's some tin somewhere in that car. There's, what are the windows made out of? Sand, and sand comes from? What, we are walking on the beach, what is that sand made of? It was made out of what type of mineral? Quartz. So we're gonna line the sandstone against quartz.
Oh, shit.
Okay, we have petroleum, we have, it's used for the lubricants, the fuel, light bulbs. Do they still have tungsten in them? I don't know. We have aluminum, we have glass. Probably other things that I don't know anything about right now. And then somewhere in the car, there's some graphite. And there's some Lodium, some serpentine.
Holy fuck.
I know that one all too well. I think that my serpentine belt was made with serpentine, and I had to get exposed to the dealer 5 times for the serpentine belt from falling off the car. They finally figured out what $10 part was missing. There's some calamite. Kyanite, I'm sorry. And this one. Those are not all mined in the US. If we have an electric car, we're gonna need lithium. We do have some lithium here, not this one, it's nickel. Cobalt. That comes from a country we really don't like having business with, and I think we're starting to have a new contract with that same country. I think maybe for one of these other ones, I can't remember which one. It's, one of the countries that is not really nice to their workers.
Fill my whole paper.
That's where this comes from.
She dropped it out, she's like, alright.
Whatever the new name of Congo is. Dominican, Democratic Republic of Congo. That's where what most, cobalt is. Now, we do have a mine here in Missouri that has cobalt. And it's been reopened. And the process, reprocessing, tailings, and you try and get the cobalt out, it's called Missouri Cobalt. And the, overall company is US Strategic Metals or something like that, but we're not gonna get the amount that it's going to be.
Yes.
But key thing is that this comes from, just like a car, transportation deck here, we've got petroleum, we've got lead, we've got iron, we've got coal, but we don't have everything. We don't have everything in the quantities that are necessary to produce everything. Something for us to keep in mind, is it comes from all over the world. And hopefully, none of you are planning on buying a new car sometime soon. They're going up 25%.
What? When?
This is a
Oh, yeah.
interesting diagram or a graphic about a bicycle and all these minerals, there are all these resources that are needed for the bicycle. This is coming from the Missouri Department of Geological Services. And they're thinking magnetite is magnetite, molybdenite, hematite, graphite, dolomite, bauxite, some ones I'm not sure what they are, sapphirite, sulfur, quartz, magnetite, just all kinds, just to make a bicycle. So that's why I really like this chapter. We're talking about all these resources. We're going to start out, well, there's three categories, as I said earlier: energy resources, metallic resources, and non-metallic resources. We're going to start out today with energy resources. We won't get through it all. Then we'll finish it up on Tuesday. So we have non-renewable energy resources and renewable energy resources. So the non-renewable are fossil fuels, uranium, and your geothermal energy. Your renewable, hydroelectric, your water going through a turbine, solar power, and wind power. Those are renewable sources. Geothermal, your book puts geothermal in the non-renewable because the earth is generating the heat and the core is cooling down, but it's cooling down not fast enough that I would call that a non-renewable resource, but your book does. So fossil fuels. I'm going to talk about petroleum, which are crude oil and natural gas. In this class, there's gasoline and there's natural gas. So if you say gas in this classroom, I'm thinking that you're talking natural gas. You're not talking about gasoline. So try to remember that. And I do make a mistake also, that you want to make the separation. And these are formed from microscopic remains of floating plants and animals in the ocean. We're talking microscopic. Not like I was taught back in grade school or wherever. They're not formed from dinosaurs. That's what I was taught. Formed from dinosaurs. No. So this is microscopic critters. Here's a 4 ounce for amylithris. You see the size on there? That's 0.6 millimeters across. So okay, we're talking about they're really tiny in there. You use a microscope to be able to see them. So these were some of the critters that were used to, they got deposited and later on turned into the oil and the natural gas. Oil companies use a lot of paleontologists that's looking at rocks. And part of what they do is when they're drilling down a section, they're examining rocks that are in there, and one thing they're looking for are the foraminiferous, microscopic fossils, so that they can figure out where they are in sections, because they're kind of drilling blindly. They don't really know where they're at. And so they have people there that identify a good section. I had wanted to be one of those people. I wanted to be a paleontologist for a oil company, but I learned that they have so few. You have to wait for one to die in order to be able to get a job. Yeah, so I thought, okay, that is not going to happen. Because my master's work was on micropaleontology. So that's what I was hoping for. Coal, you already know all there is now that we need to know about coal, formed from plants in a swampy environment. Ocean versus a swamp. Now we are still worldwide using primarily worldwide, you're using fossil fuels for our energy. We're talking energy for transportation, for making electricity, and for heating. In the U.S., it's about 80%. These numbers could change. I didn't check the latest data on this. So 5 years ago, they were saying that it's 80% in the U.S. It probably hasn't changed much. But we have 35% in the petroleum, natural gas, and this would be your crude oil, Natural gas is 34%, so that's a big chunk. There's all the fossil fuels, well, and also coal. Coal is being used for making electricity, for heating some homes or other places. Nuclear energy, 9% in our country. Renewables, it's going up, but we have 12%, talking geothermal, solar, hydroelectric, wind, and the biomass fuels, burning, you know, just plants, or like, sometimes they're making them out of waste plants from corn and items like that. Sometimes they're just burning and they make pellets out of the wood and use that for fuel. There's an exhibit up in the Rapid City, Arbor Day, the Arbor Society, and I think they have an example plant that uses, or they used to have it, that used just like wood pellets for creating, they just heat. And this is way too busy of a graph, but it's kind of interesting, so I'm just going to talk about little pieces of it, and I just want you to get kind of concept of what we use. Here we have the source, either petroleum, crude oil, natural gas, renewable energy, coal, and nuclear. Over here is how it's being used, or here's also how it's being used. So do we use it to make electricity, or does it go directly to an industry? So industries of manufacturing plants, transportation, our residential homes, because we'll use some heating fuels of our homes, like commercials, which I think what they're meaning there are office buildings, or stores, and things like that. But petroleum, there's, you know, part of it is going directly to the industry, to be used in plants that they have. Part of it, like 1% of it goes down to use to make electricity, using crude oil, or burning crude oil to make electricity, not what we normally do. Coal, 90% of it goes to a power plant to make electricity. We have more and more natural gas going, and I can't read that number, 30, I don't know if it says 38 or 30% of that natural gas is used for making electricity, and that's going up and up. Just heard this morning that Bevergy, which is the electric company that my area has, if you're independent, you've got a different energy company. I'm not sure, I think Kansas City has Evergy, do you all know?
Yeah.
Y'all have Evergy? There's a public comment, or not a public meeting that is available to go to, or to see visually, or visual, whatever you call it, through a Zoom meeting. You can watch this meeting. They are proposing to build 3 new gas-powered electric plants. And I'm just getting little pieces here and there. I can tell you exactly what this is, but I think I know what's going on. You might research into that. You might be interested to see what is going on there. I need to research it more. I don't want to say something that is incorrect, but I know something. I heard about it in public meetings this morning, which meant this evening get on and try to figure out what's going on. But 3 gas power plants, that's a great idea. Natural gas, they burn less. I mean, they release carbon dioxide, which causes greenhouse gases, which causes climate change. But they release less than what coal. And most of our electricity is made from burning coal. Not directly, we burn coal to boil water, to make steam, to turn a turbine. But coal is burned to make the majority of our electricity. So it is a step in the right direction for cleaning up our air. But let's see, nuclear, all of it goes